This is Nicole Carlson, and she'll be talking about the joy of sweating the small stuff. Everyone give her a hand, please.
All right, I hope you're ready for your brains to come out of your eyeballs. There's a lot of bullet points. So, my name is Nicole Carlson, pronouns she, her, hers. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the joy of sweating the small stuff. And when I say small stuff, I'm talking about things like bugs in your code, documentation issues, maybe small tasks you think that you could automate, linting errors, stuff like that. So a lot of the times when you run into small issues like this, your manager may tell you not to worry about it. So the issue could be something that's not your problem, maybe it belongs to one of your teammates. It could be something that appears like it's only a one-time issue, so it's not really worth fixing now. You may already have a workaround, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe your code isn't perfect. Or maybe the issue is something that has no effect on production, like some extreme edge case you know won't show up. So a lot of the times you should listen to the person telling you not to sweat the small stuff. Right? You don't want to end up like this poor beaver who's really sweaty and struggling. On the other hand, I'm here to argue today that sometimes you do want to let yourself sweat the small stuff. So small wins can be super motivating. You can often use the momentum from a small win to tackle a larger project. You may have something really small that you know you're going to have to deal with repeatedly in the future, so you might as well just deal with it now. And in a lot of cases, if you let yourself worry about small things, you'll end up learning something useful that you can apply to other projects. So in those cases, I would encourage you to be more like this amorphous person in the sauna who's really excited about sweating. So now I'll talk you through 3 examples of times when I sweated the small stuff and what I got out of it. The first is rendering a README on PyPI. PyPI is the Python package index. It's a website for uploading Python libraries to share them with other people. So about a year and a half ago, I wrote a library called PyMC3 models and uploaded it to PyPI. And instead of my beautiful README, I instead got this giant wall of legal text, and my README was all the way at the bottom. And I was super confused because I thought I had done everything right. This was my first library, so I really wanted to make sure I understood the process for uploading to PyPI, and it was really disturbing to see this giant wall of legal text that was illegible. Nobody can read that. And this is also one of the introductions to my library, right? So somebody coming across this project would probably be like, ugh, this person doesn't know what they're doing. Better find something else. So at the time that I initially wrote it, I had a number of reasons why I couldn't actually investigate. So I'd already spent a week building the library. My company gave me the time to do that. I couldn't really ask them for more time just to fix a README on PyPI. There was a workaround, right? Users could go to the project GitHub page or to the docs website. But this continued to eat away at me throughout the course of a year. So every couple months, I would spend like 15 minutes trying to figure out what was happening. I really wanted to know why it wasn't working. This is my first library. I knew I'd have to apply these lessons to future libraries, so I wanted to understand the process. And for a lot of people, this would be the introduction of my library, and I didn't want people to be put off. So about a year after I first wrote it, I ended up spending an entire afternoon devoted to just figuring out what was happening here. So in the past, I'd only given myself like 15 minutes because I knew it was such a small problem, but then I decided, nope, 3 hours, I'll do it, I don't care. What I eventually discovered is that I didn't quite understand the setup process. So in a Python setup file, there's a field called license, and I had assumed it was supposed to contain the text of my license. Turns out that's not the case. You're only supposed to use that if you have some type of specialized license. If you have a regular open source license, you're supposed to use a classifier, which is like a tag. So once I did that, I uploaded a new version of my library, which you can see. Look how pretty it is. Look at all that markdown. It's no legal text. It's amazing. So for me, this was something that was worthwhile to figure out because we've open sourced other libraries at work, and now I know better how to handle it. And it was just something that I kept dealing with over and over again. So now I don't have to worry about it. All right, the second example is counting high fives. So at my company, each quarter, every person can give 2 other people high fives, and then they get a $5 gift certificate. So the high fives look something like this. So my coworker, Greg, gave me a high five for disagreeing with it a lot. And at the end of the quarter, you count up your high fives and go to your office manager and compare their accounts, and then they give you your gift certificates. And even as I was creating this slide, I got super irritated because I had to scroll back through Slack 2 months to find this high five. And I was like, I knew it was here somewhere, I just don't quite remember where it is. This is so stupid, somebody should automate this. And I was like, oh yeah, I did. We just haven't released it yet. So this is obviously a very inefficient, stupid way to handle counting high fives, right? Every person goes through a Slack channel and counts them up. The admins go through and copy each high five over to a spreadsheet. As a tech person, I was like, hey, there's clearly a better way to do this. It took me a while to convince my boss to let me do this. There were a lot of reasons for me not to pursue this, right? I only need to do this once a quarter, so, you know, not that much time. You may know Slack search does exist, and I'm a data scientist, so this has nothing to do with my job at all. Eventually, I was able to convince my boss to give me a couple of days to work on this, and the legit reason that I told her was because I wanted to help the admins keep track of high fives, which is true. Also, Slack search is not great. I feel like every time I use it, I vow never to use it again because of how stupid it is. So I get stuck in this loop of scrolling back, switching to search, and being like, both these options are terrible. And then finally, the real reason that I wanted to do it is because building a bot is cool. Like, what am I, some type of robot-hating chump? No. So I spent a couple of days, and I eventually built a high five bot, so it now records our high fives. You can ask it how many high fives you received, and then Bender will tell you how many high fives you've had. So this ended up being really worthwhile to me. I learned a lot about Slack bots. I had to deploy it, so I worked with DevOps to figure out Slack security. And obviously, the office admins are super happy because they don't have to copy stuff over into a spreadsheet. All right. The last error is my favorite because it's a linting error, so it's really petty and stupid. So, a few months ago, one of my coworkers sent me a pull request that contained a class with a method that looked like this. And we kept getting this linting error, D414, section has no content. I don't know about you, but when I look at this, I see a section called parameters, and it clearly has content. So, we were super confused about this, and our linting tests were failing. I had a lot of reasons not to look into this. So I was not the primary reviewer. I was not even the secondary reviewer. I was the tertiary reviewer. So I had no business looking into this problem. We did have a workaround, right? The author could tell our linter to ignore the line using no QA. And finally, as you may have noticed, the error was in a doc string, so it has no effect on anything whatsoever. But I decided that I was going to look into this because I was super annoyed by it. And the legitimate reason was because I believe you should minimize the amount of code where you use no QA, and that you should only use it if you know why you're telling your linter to ignore something. But the real reason was because no linter can defeat me, and I was about to let this linter take me down. So I spent an entire afternoon, 2 or 3 hours, working on this linting bug. I went through every line in that doc string, deleted it, ran the linter again. I scoured through millions of GitHub repos, trying to find an example of this repo, this error. And what I eventually found is that we didn't understand how the linter was working. So we all thought the linter was looking for sections by looking for the dotted lines. So parameters is a section. Instead, with the docstring style that we use, the linter was looking for keywords. So there are the normal ones you expect, so parameters, returns, yields, and then way at the bottom, I saw that examples was also a keyword. So our linter saw parameters, assumed it was a section, then it immediately saw examples, thought that was another section, so it said, hey, parameters is empty. You don't need that as a section. Once we realized that, the fix is pretty straightforward, right? All we had to do is change the argument from examples to something else like text. So for me, this was super fun. There's something really satisfying about being the only person on your team who can solve something, so that felt really good. And everyone else in the world benefited from my work because I wrote a blog post about it. So hopefully if you run into this problem, you'll find my blog post instead of having to spend 3 hours messing around with the docstring. So in conclusion, sometimes it is okay to sweat the small stuff. Be like this child who seems very happy sweating. Thanks.